What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. It is your boy Coach Kai. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to avoid distractions, fellas, right? This is a common thing with, most men. I know myself. A lot of these topics I relate to myself included. You're not alone in this one, fellas. Distractions is a man's biggest downfall, right? No matter if it's women, money. But I mean, is that really a distraction at the end of the day? So we got women, entertainment, clubs, bars, drinking, some type of friends. If they not, adding some type of value to your life can be major distraction, right? These are all things, we human. These are all things that, we feed off of. But, it's very important that, you have a time and a place for that. Sometimes you have to separate the two in order to, get further in life. So today I'm going to be giving y'all some more value on how you can do that. And, some things that helped me out in my life, throughout my life. And even to this day, that still helped me out. All right, so first one we got is staying busy, right? Staying productive. Like, even sometimes nowadays, like, when I'm not feeling productive, I feel lazy. I feel like, man, what are you doing? Like, you wasting so much time away, right? And it's like, we might not think that little bit of 2, 3, 5 minutes is not much to waste, but, it really is, So it's like, even nowadays, when I'm not doing something to better my life, I'm not learning a new skill, I'm not working on my business, I'm not working on, posting social media, whatever it is, posting content, whatever it is to keep me busy that's going to better my future and, my platforms and, make more money at the end of the day. If I'm not doing something like that, I feel lazy, right? And if you don't feel like that as a man, you're going to always have this comfortable mindset to where, you're going to always come home, veg out when you get off that 9 to 5, watch Netflix, eat whatever, eat Doritos and Cheetos and eat everything in the house, right? Eat up donuts, everything you could think of, right? And eat, sleep, repeat pretty much, right? And then go back next morning and go to work. So if you don't have this structure and this mental state to, be able to balance the two and cut out the distractions and put more time into learning a new skill or learning something that's going to better your life, then like, what are you really doing as a man? Are you really a man at the end of the day? Like, how are you going to lead a family? How are you going to lead a woman if you can't lead yourself? What you're talking about is keep a tight circle around you. It's very important to, keep a circle that, you want to surround yourself with people that think like you, that are like-minded like you. Once I started to notice cutting out the people that, I felt like were kind of holding me back, or like they weren't on the same type of path or, rhythm that I'm on, that's when I had to kind of understand and realize, you're not really benefiting for me in my life. I need to have these people over here because they are, and then I need to, distance myself from them because they're only pulling me back in life. I'm not, and I'm trying to progress further. Like, I would have friends that, so-called friends that, talk about going out to the club, going out on another date with another chick and, doing this. But then it's like, where's the money at? Like, where's the stuff where we talking about making more money? Where's the stuff where we talking about bettering our future life, for the good, for the better? We constantly talking about, the things that really don't matter at the end of the day because they're not going to really leave us fulfilled, right? When it comes to women, it's like, what do most guys do? They move on from one woman on to the next, right? And it's just like a repeated cycle. And it's like, how do you really get anything out of that? That's why your life is still stagnant, and that's why it's still, where it is today. You're not proud. You can't really rep nothing because you haven't really done the groundwork to, be proud of yourself and, put in what you getting out, right? And a woman is just like, she's going to come and go, right? They're only going to get better. So it's like, why are you dwelling on, chasing women all day and, doing all these unproductive things all day that's not really better in your future if, they're always going to be there. It just don't make no sense to me, G. So you got to, remember that to keep people around you that are like-minded, that are like mentors, even if they better than you. And I don't want to say better than you just because, they like shitting on you or nothing, but just because it's like, they might be more, well off than you, or they might be a little more successful than you. That's okay. I got really good, successful mentor to me, you know what I mean, who recently just retired, at a young age and all that, but am I jealous? No. I just hope to be like that one day and to be inspired and take as much value and gain that I can, to better my life. It should never be about men hating on another man. Another man hating on another man is, a broken man. That's all I got to say. A man with no hope, he's just lost. He just, wants everything handed to him in life. He's not willing to work for anything, right? That's a man that, you don't want around you. And that's not a true friend at the end of the day. So next one we talking about is going to the gym, fellas. You know, going to the gym builds structure, builds discipline. You know, it'll help your mental state, not just physical, but mental state. I always preach about this. It's very important, right? So, you know, I'm not saying you got to go into the gym 7 days a week because that's bad. You know, but just going to the gym, getting your mind off things to where, you know, you're keeping yourself productive and moving is going to help you, you know, in the long run, try to avoid distractions, right? Instead of going to the bar, say, oh, I'm going to the gym. Instead of going out to, you know, see her, say I'm going to the gym, right? And a lot of relationships, I feel like, you know, you have your girls who are controlling, not all, but some of these women are controlling to it. They're like, oh, you can miss 1 day, you can miss 2 days. No, I can't. You know, because what is that doing? That's only taking away from your purpose. And it's only going to get worse and worse time again. That's why a lot of these guys, and if this is talking about, if I'm talking about you, then you can relate. And that's why a lot of y'all, you know, you start to get comfortable in these relationships, and that's why they end up falling off. And then what does a woman end up doing? Leaving you. Right? I cannot tell you. I talked to somebody recently and she said her and her ex broke up because he got too complacent. I try to tell you this, fellas, like, you cannot get complacent in a relationship, right? Just because you got the relationship does not mean, you know, you got no more work to do. You still have more work to do. It's only going to get harder to keep her because, you know, she's going to be looking at you to lead her and guide her, and you're like over here acting blind and stuff, right? So it's like you have to have some type of structure and, you know, have that leader mindset, because your woman is going to follow you and then she will lose attraction to you, you know, if you're not doing so, right? So last but not least, we're going to be talking about manifesting where you see yourself years to come, right? I believe manifestation is very real. You just touch it, feel it, see it, you know, whatever you got to do to, you know, motivate you to achieve that, no matter if it's materialistic, no matter if it's you know, schooling or anything to where it makes you have this ambition and drive that's like out of the world, you know, uncontrollable. You just like go crazy over it, you know, and this only makes you like grind harder, right? So, you know, seeing yourself and marking your, you know, journaling, doing all these, taking these notes on like where you want to see your life headed in, you know, years to come, that's very important. It's something that I still do to this day, manifesting whatever you want in your life, you know, but always remember you still have to put the work in, right? So manifestation is not just, oh, I'm just dreaming about it, I'm just looking at it, and then it's just like it's gonna pop up, right? You have to actually put the groundwork in behind it. If you want to get, you know, in shape, the best shape you can be in, what is just hoping and dreaming, like looking at all these videos, but you're not really putting in the work, right? What is that going to do for you? That's not going to do nothing. So you actually have to put the groundwork in. You have to actually have to eat that, you know, stuff that you don't want to eat or feel like eating. You have to have the mental discipline to, you know, look at that piece of pizza and be like, oh no, I don't need it, right? Like I'm on my purpose. I'm trying to get in shape, the best shape I can ever be in. You have to have that mental state to, you know, turn her down every now and then. You just got to say no, right? These are all important aspects that you have to have as a man in order to, you know, have that mindset of, you know, staying disciplined and staying grounded, right? And so